Alert: if you see this ordinary hook in public bathrooms, don't touch it and call cops immediately. If there weren't enough issues going on in bathrooms across America thanks to liberals' relentless fight to let men use women's bathrooms, now we have a whole new set of problems to worry about. There's a sick new tool that creeps and pedophiles are putting into place to get a sneak peek at people's goods during their most private moments, and this sick tactic is being employed by installing an object you probably wouldn't even notice under normal circumstances. Authorities are warning of a high-tech device that looks like a simple coat, purse hook that's being placed in bathrooms and changing rooms across the country by creeps. While it looks like a regular coat hook, upon closer inspection, there's something far more sinister going on. These spy hooks look innocent enough, but inside of them there's a small miniature camera that is able to film through a tiny hole at the top of the plastic. Whoever has the hook installed in a bathroom stall or dressing room can then retrieve the footage through a USB, and then download anything that was recorded straight to their computer. One sheriff from the Florida Keys, where the issue has become rampant, is asking all business owners to check their property for these devices immediately. Anyone who has a public restroom on their property needs to check them closely, he said. If you find anything suspicious you think might contain a hidden camera, don't touch it. Call us right away and we will respond. He went on to say that these cameras can pretty much be hidden anywhere in places where people would least expect them. Keep in mind, though, that these are very small cameras that can be mounted in many locations and hidden in many seemingly everyday items. These cheap camera hooks can be bought online, and so in theory, they could be installed in any public place, which means you might want to double check the next time you strip down in public changing room or drop your pants in a stall. Here's the official statement that's being circulated as a warning to citizens by the Florida Keys Police Department. Detectives investigating hidden cameras in women's restrooms. Detectives in the Upper Keys are investigating 3 reports involving hidden cameras found in women's restrooms. In all 3 incidents, miniature cameras hidden in coat hooks were found mounted on the walls in the women's restrooms. They were found at Dan's Beach on May 26, the Circle K store at the 99.8-mile marker of Highway US 1 on May 28, and in the women's bathroom at Harry Harris Park and Tavernier today. The coat hooks mounted in all 3 locations are identical to devices available for purchase online, sold by various companies as home security devices. Detectives have notified Monroe County Public Works and Islamorada Public Works and asked them to check all the bathrooms at county and city facilities. Sheriff Rick Ramsey wants to let everyone know so they also can be on the lookout. All of the devices found so far look like simple white coat hooks with a camera mounted behind it and utilizing a very small hole in the top portion of the coat hook for the lens of the camera. They use motion detection cameras inside to take video. How absolutely sick. Be sure to pass this information along to your friends and family. With beach season upon us, there will be an even greater risk for creeps out there to go on their little spy missions thanks to this technology that's being utilized across the country. Breaking: millions of welfare leeches just woke up missing something this morning. Let the riots begin. Everyone has faced hard times before where we need a little extra assistance to make ends meet. There is no shame in that or asking for help from the government when times are tough. However, it has almost become expected in certain circles of the population. There are many people in America that live exclusively off government assistance. What makes this even more infuriating, is that it has become expected. There are plenty of hard-working Americans who hustle every day to make sure their families are cared for. These people pinch their pennies, clip coupons, and sacrifice, while welfare leeches suck them dry. However, all that is about to change, and it is about damn time. President Trump had promised to make huge cuts to the food stamp program, otherwise known as SNAP, Supplemental Nutrition Assistance Plan. Currently, there are 43 million people sucking the system dry, and it is costing the American taxpayer $45 billion a year to implement. Trump knows that this is insanity and is pushing forward with some massive revisions. 2 of those revisions include no longer providing SNAP benefits to sexual predators or lottery winners. According to Daily Caller, Under the USDA's proposed rules, if an individual wins $25,000 or more from the lottery, before taxes, his or her entire household would be ineligible to receive food stamps until the household income falls within eligible range again. Maine proposed its own rules excluding those who earn more than $5,000 from lottery or gambling from getting food stamps, but the USDA's rules would apply nationwide. Existing rules already prohibit fleeing felons and probation or parole violators from obtaining SNAP benefits, but now anyone convicted of an adult of murder or aggravated sexual assault will be barred from receiving food stamps. This is fantastic news in my opinion since so many people are abusing the system. However, what makes this frustrating is that these rules were actually implemented nearly 3 years ago. Yep, you heard that right folks. These rules have already been in place, but thanks to the Obama administration none of it was enforced. These rules were already signed into effect on February 7, 2014, in the last Farm Bill, but never implemented. This is, of course, frustrating to learn since we all work so hard to make ends meet every day. This just proves that the Obama administration was always against the American people. During the Obama era, they made a generation of entitled brats who believe everything is owed to them. Instead of fostering a mentality of hard work and pride, we have churned out government dependence. This needs to end, and finally, we have a president who is determined to stop the insanity. These people have every opportunity to make their lives better if they choose to. We cannot afford to take care of everyone for their entire lives. Of course, if someone falls onto hard times, we should rally as a community to help them. But, if you ask me, it is not the government's job to take care of anyone. Sadly, we have drifted so far from the Constitution that we don't know what is correct anymore. Government assistance is not constitutional, and I know for myself, I would be happy to get rid of the entire program. I am a firm believer in the community helping others instead of the government forcing it upon us. Maybe if we got back to the basics we would be able to stop the insanity once and for all. What do you think? HT, Daily Caller. U.S. student commits suicide after lip kangaroo court. A campus kangaroo court is being blamed in the suicide of a University of Texas Arlington student after a gay student accused him of using slurs after the other student rejected a sexual advance. According to the Washington Times, 24-year-old Thomas Clark committed suicide last June after being accused of sexual misconduct. The accuser said that Clark had typed "gays should die" in his search bar during a class, and when the accuser said that he was gay, Clark had called him a FT and told him to kill himself. Clark had a very different version of the tale, saying that the accuser had made advances even after Clark felt uncomfortable and told him to stop. However, the university subjected Clark to a hearing process where, according to Watchdog.org, he wasn't even informed of the exact nature of the charges against him, didn't have a chance to respond, and did not have the presumption of innocence. Clark was even barred from the class, told only that he was involved in an alleged violation of the university student code of conduct without being told what that violation was. The class was the last one he needed to graduate. The university wouldn't even let Clark's father, a lawyer, sit in on a meeting with the disciplinary committee. Clark was also disallowed from collecting evidence to support his case. He was eventually put on disciplinary probation, which could have prevented him from getting into graduate school, and barred from the class. He committed suicide after the verdict. Now, his family has filed a lawsuit against the university. This is a case that highlights the really epidemic problem that we're seeing across the country about what happens when a college violates the legal rights of a student who's been accused of misconduct, said Kenneth Chaikin, the attorney for Thomas Clark's father, according to the Washington Times. The accused student can really suffer life-altering consequences, in this case of the most tragic form, which was the decision to take his own life. Saying that the university's policy was intentionally selectively enforced, Chaikin said that Clark's case underscores why there is a major need to reform the disciplinary process on campus. Sadly, The Obama administration's dramatic expansion of Title IX legislation on American campuses has led to a whole score of kangaroo courts at schools across the nation. Clark's case may be extreme, but it's far from the first, and tragically, it will likely be far from the last. Former Hillary staffers claim she blamed them for poor campaign and election loss. To most conservatives, failed Democrat presidential nominee Hillary Clinton is an old, bitter and wretched woman who treats people like garbage and cares only about the pursuit of power. While evidence of this already existed aplenty, even more has just surfaced courtesy of an upcoming tell-all book by journalists Jonathan Allen and Amy Parnes, Shattered: Inside Hillary Clinton's Doomed Campaign. The 480-page book is an account of what occurred behind the scenes during both the 2016 Democrat race election and the presidential election. And judging by an excerpt published this week to The Hill, it was not a pretty sight, particularly for those unfortunate men and women who worked as Clinton's campaign staffers. She was visibly, unflinchingly pissed off at us as a group, one unnamed staffer reportedly said about how Clinton reacted after her opponent Senator Bernie Sanders trounced her in the Michigan Democrat primary in March. And she let us know she felt that way. She let them know by yelling at them, berating them, blaming them for her failures and acting like a spoiled brat. Hillary was so mad she couldn't think straight, Allen and Parnes reported, basing their observations on interviews with Clinton's former staffers. What's interesting here, as Newsbusters pointed out, is that Allen and Parnes teamed up on a previous book, HRC published in 2014, that was downright mushy about the former First Lady. Shattered isn't mushy at all. How could she have been left so vulnerable? They wrote. She knew, or at least she thought she did. The blame belonged to her campaign team, she believed, for failing to hone her message, energize important constituencies and take care of business and getting voters to the polls. In other words, the blame belonged to everybody but her, the star player. And because everybody else had allegedly screwed up her campaign, they deserved her scathing excoriations. Except they didn't. But neither she nor her husband, former President Bill Clinton, realized it at the time. According to staffers, in fact, they suffered at least one chewing from Bill himself, who reportedly hammered them months earlier for allegedly failing to convey Hillary's message to the voters. You haven't buried this thing, the ruddy-cheeked former president rasped. You haven't figured out how to get Hillary's core message to the voters. This has been dragging on for months, he thundered, and nothing you've done has made a damn bit of difference. Voters want to hear about Hillary's plans for the economy, and you're not making that happen. Now, do your damn jobs. Ouch. And yet the sentence still remain oblivious to why Hillary lost. In a recent interview with NBC News, she had the audacity to try and blame her defeat on meddling by the Russians, weeks of incriminating disclosures by WikiLeaks, investigations by FBI Director James Comey, and the alleged prevalence of misogyny among the American voting public, including white women, apparently. God forbid that either she or her husband ever admit that she lost the election last year because nobody likes her, perhaps because she's a horrible human being. Just a thought. HT The Daily Caller. Please share this story on Facebook and Twitter and let us know what you think about the horrible way Hillary Clinton, and her husband, in some instances, treated her campaign staffers. What do you think about what Hillary's staffers had to say about her? Scroll down to comment below.